There's been a bit of discussion recently with the Mercedes drivers about potentially using team orders between the two because they're basically not confident that they're going to be able to win all the races just by betting on like whoever's in the lead every race. And that came about because of what happened at Spain, where basically because they were protecting George Russell from Antonelli, Hamilton ended up winning the race. So I just wanted to go through every race and see if it would have mattered really. So obviously Australia, it was dominant, so it didn't really matter. Leclerc was keeping up at the start though and kind of keeping Russell in check, but they had enough margin to then just stay out and pull away. And Russell was fast enough, so it wasn't there was nothing to do with like the two drivers there, so it was all good. In China, it was not really close again. Obviously, Hamilton got the lead into turn one, but then they just started pulling away again, and they were able to, I believe, double stack in the pits. Obviously, it screwed Russell up a bit, but they couldn't leave one of them out because the strategy just wouldn't have worked otherwise. So I don't think there was any problem there, and I don't think they needed to favour anyone. Japan's a more interesting one because essentially Piastri was looking on for the win until the safety car, which came out just after Russell pitted. But that weekend was kind of the first one where Russell looked particularly off the pace, and he obviously blamed the a bad setup or whatever on it. So, but I don't think there was any kind of problem there. I think Antonelli had it covered even without the safety car, to be honest. So I don't think they needed to favour any driver there. Miami, Antonelli, it was Antonelli versus Norris essentially because Russell was just anonymous all weekend. So I think Antonelli did well there, and they didn't need to favour anyone because Antonelli was so far ahead, whilst George Russell was like, what, a minute off him or whatever. And then Canada, once again, they just had enough of a performance advantage where it didn't really matter. I think if it had gotten a bit closer, if the safety car had come out earlier or not, if a safety car came out at all and Hamilton had been there or Verstappen, I think they would have needed to favoured Antonelli because I think Antonelli had more pace in the race, to be honest. Yeah, obviously Russell got pole, but then Antonelli was keeping up with him. Even though, to be fair, Russell did retire when he was in front, but it was only about a second and a half, and Antonelli might have just been cooling down his tyres. And then the next race at Monaco, I mean, it's Monaco, so it doesn't really matter. But again, Antonelli was just kind of in a different stratosphere compared to Russell. And then obviously the race at Barcelona was the first one actually this season where obviously Russell qualified on pole by 3/10, so fair, good on him. But then in the race, once again, he just looked to be struggling with pace a bit, really. The team blamed a front wing change on the lack of pace in, I think, the final stint, but I personally think that's just an excuse. I just don't think he had the pace. And I think that is a race where, because they were trying to favour both of them, or just because they panicked, they ended up losing the win. Because I think in the first stint, they should have kept Russell out. I don't think there was any reason for them to bring... I think they just panicked. And that was a theme, actually, during their dominance, was they would screw up the strategy a lot of times because they were so used to having a car multiple seconds faster than the rest. So I do think that probably cost them the win there, to be honest. Obviously, they finished 20 seconds back at the end, and once Hamilton had clear air, I don't think anyone was going to beat him. And I also think they were worried about Norris that race because he was keeping them honest, to be fair. And I mean, we saw Antonelli got past, and then he was kind of pulling away. He pulled away like a second and a half in one lap, and you might say, oh, well, George was pulling away at Canada, but he wasn't pulling away at like a second a lap or anything. Yeah, that's the question, basically, that do they need to use team orders at certain races and forget about the driver's title just to focus on the constructors and getting the maximum amount of points? And I think they will need to. I mean, that was how Mercedes was operated from 14 to 16. It was always the team first, because I remember Monaco 2016, Rosberg was told to move out the way at Monaco because he was just so slow in the rain because he couldn't get the fronts fired up. So I think that is the direction they're going to have to end up going. It also depends what happens at Austria, because I know Red Bull are bringing a massive upgrade. Ferrari are bringing their engine upgrade allegedly. So it'll just depend how close the field is. But I think it's going to be a track where Mercedes' hybrid advantage is probably exposed a lot. I think they'll probably be quite dominant, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be very close. Just looking ahead to a few other races, Silverstone, I think they'll be ahead. Belgium, a lot straights, they'll probably be ahead. Ferrari might keep up in sector 2. Hungary, I think, will be quite close. So there's a few races coming up where it might not matter so much just because they're going to be so dominant. But I don't think it's a given that they'll have the same dominance they did for the first few races for the rest of the season. And it'll depend how the title fight goes. I think if Antonelli outscores Russell in the next like 3 races by, I don't know, 6 points a race or 10 points, it's just going to be quite a large gap at that point. And I think they'll probably have to start favouring one driver, to be honest, for the constructors. Though, to be fair, kind of Leclerc's recent run of form has meant no one's really close. McLaren are far away because they've just got infinite gremlins with their car, and Ferrari are a decent amount of points back because of Leclerc's recent races. I think Leclerc will end up bouncing back though, so I think Ferrari might become a threat again soon, but yeah, not at the moment. So I do think team orders are going to end up being used. I don't know who's going to end up winning the driver's title. So yeah,